First of all, I'd like to say that this video really does not have conclusive evidence yet. These are only based on the things I've been able to research and my own reasoning added to the research I've been able to do, but nothing about this is conclusive, so whether or not this goes one way or the other is still entirely up to debate. One of the more fascinating things about most religion is the false dichotomy they make, that you can either choose to accept what they propagate or you can choose to reject it. Is belief a choice? That is the fundamental question I think must be answered. Is belief up to a person's free will? So, is belief a choice? Well, I think you guys would know what I personally think, but the answer is why my answer is what it is. Let's take a hypothetical situation. Let's just say this iPod in front of you is, well, I don't know if the camera can see it, but this is a color, right? What color is it? It's blue. Well, lightish blue. Can I convince you that this is another color? Do you see it as another color? Let's just pretend you're not colorblind. Do you see this as another color except the color blue? What if I gave you $100 million, and would you honestly see that this is a different color? You may take the $100 million and pretend to say, yeah, that's red and not blue, but deep down inside, truthfully to yourself, would you believe that this is not the color blue? And the answer is, unless you're colorblind, no. What if I told you that I was going to beat you until you bled, until you believed that this was a different color than it actually is? Would you then be able to believe that this is not the color blue? And the answer is still no. Remember, desirability or lack thereof is not a requisite for the truth. What does quantify as a good prerequisite for what we perceive to be the truth is through convincing arguments, compelling evidence, and a good amount of trust in the sources that we use. Now, let's put God in the picture. Even if a real God did in fact exist, no amount of special pleading, no amount of threats, no amount of bribery on the part of a theist will honestly ever truly convince me that a God is real, no matter how much they decided to offer. So it's not my choice that I'm rejecting the idea of any particular God in question. It's a compulsion, a necessity, based on how I view evidence and how I view the facts that I see. And they don't convince me because that's just how I view things. And if your God was really smart enough, and if he really did exist, then your God would understand that that's the way he made me. That's the way that he shaped me as I grew up, and that's the way he knew I was going to intentionally fail his test because he made me the wrong frickin' way. But wait, my detractors will say. What about those people we've managed to convince? You know, there have been certain stories of atheists in foxholes who have converted into theists. Well, I appeal to my atheist audience now, and if you're a Christian or a Muslim or a Jew or any other religious person listening in on this, can you at least be honest with yourselves? You don't have to tell the truth to me, but at least be honest with yourselves enough that the majority of who religious people tend to try and convert happens to be either the very old, the very young, or the very impoverished. Is this a coincidence? I think not. I think that these are the groups of people that are the easiest to convince. Moreover, they are the easiest to condition to believe in a certain set of, I don't know, doctrine. So really, even if I were to grant the premise that there are no atheists in foxholes, I would hardly think that's something to be proud of if you're taking advantage of psychologically damaged and or wounded people in order to indoctrinate them into your religion. Doesn't sound like a very pleasant thing to do, now does it? So, once again, you can't convince me that a God or God exists unless you provide sufficient evidence in order for me to be convinced. And as I've said many times before, for me at least, and for many atheists, I will say, that at least extends to a considerable amount of empirical evidence to support the existence of one God over every other that can be repeatedly tested and observed. That's all for now, folks. Thanks for watching, and may the truth always be heard. Peace.